2008 CBF1000. God, there's some problems with this. So it won't start. The fella had put in new spark plugs and he'd put them in wrong cylinders, 1 to 2 were mixed up. Anyway, sorted that out, plugged it into the diagnostic machine, no faults found, got a good fuel pressure, tested the fuel pump, that's fine, ignition's all fine. It's turning over slowly, thinking, yeah, it's not right that, even with a good battery on it. And then done a compression test, they're all 0. So I'm just pulling the cover off now just to satisfy my curiosity, and the guy, yeah, it'll tell him whether he needs a new engine or just a top end rebuild, but it doesn't look good. It's got 46,000 miles on it, and yeah, there's not much oil in it, and the oil looks dirty, so I don't think it's been completely looked after properly. But anyway, I'll get this cover off and find out. So I've got the cover off just enough. See? Wow, that's bizarre. I'll just top up the jump pack. So I've got battery hooked up, key on, full throttle. Bizarre, isn't it? No pressure. Wait a minute, I might have made a mistake. I just used this gauge for the fuel pressure. Well, not this gauge, but this line, and it had a Schrader valve in the bottom. I've just took that out just to see. Look at that. It has got compression. So petrol must have fucked that little Schrader valve. So it might be savable. Can you believe it? Started up, but it took a hell of a long time to start, and it was really not wanting to start. It was like, you know, coughing and spluttering. I had to disconnect the fuel pump, reconnect it. I think, I can't really be sure, but I think the plugs were just basically doused in some fluid. I think you may have been trying to start it with that carb cleaner or something, but there's something funny going on. I'm still not sure what's going on with this bike, but it started up, it's running. Yeah, I'm a bit baffled really, but it's fixed. So just to go through that job a little bit. Turned up, it was a no start situation. He had a battery on there that was just weak as anything really, so straight away put it on a jump starter, and going through the job, he kept explaining what he's done so far. So what I think has happened, it wouldn't start, probably due to the battery. So he's got his friend out who's brought a jump pack. They've tried to start it with that, hasn't quite started. They've tried putting some carb cleaner in the intakes. I'm not sure how much they've used, but the can was fairly empty. And then still not been able to get it started. And then he's gone ahead and he's changed the spark plugs for new ones. They did need to be changed. And then basically tried, and it just never started, basically for months, I think, from the sound of it. And so I got called last week, I think, and I've come out today. So start off, put a jump starter on it, won't start. Then we did a quick Texas diagnostics on it, no faults found, no surprises. And so I did a couple of things after that. I checked the fuel pressure and I checked for spark. So we had spark on the outer coils, and then I made a correction for him, so he put the HT leads on 1 and 2 backwards, so it was sort of backfiring a little bit on those cylinders, and pulled the plugs out, and they were all soaking, like really just dripping. So I left them out for a little bit, did a compression test which turned out to be false. My mistake. So I pulled the cam cover off thinking that there was no compression on all cylinders, and then saw that there's the cam chain turning, so I moved on to put it back together, you know, at my cost. Put it back together, plugs in, tank on, tried to start it, still wouldn't start. So basically the only way I got it to go was to just keep cranking it, throttle closed, keep cranking, throttle closed, and it did start the first, I think it started, like initially when we put the tank back on, it did fire up for like a second or two, and then it cut out. So I thought, well, there's got to be something in this, so I just basically pinned the throttle open, disconnect the fuel pump wire so there was no pressure, let the fuel pressure diminish, because I was thinking maybe there's an injector that's just firing, leaking loads of petrol somewhere. Did that, cranked it over for 20 seconds, reattached the pump. Something weird happened in between. I thought that the fuel pump wasn't working, but I think it might have just been at pressure. But anyway, yeah, reconnected the pump, cranked it for 20 seconds, and it was, we could hear it bump, you know, like every now and then it was firing, and then more and more it was getting, these fires were getting closer and closer together, and then eventually it did spark into life, and I had the throttle open quite wide at this point, and it just revved straight up, and then yeah, it took a matter of seconds to rev it out, and it just, yeah, it cleared everything, and it's just been absolutely fine since then. So all I can say is it's a bit of a mystery, but I think it's all due to just flooding the bike initially, so there's that much fuel in there, and even putting new spark plugs hasn't been able to fix it. He needs a new battery, and but yeah, that's all it needs.